everyone. This is Lindsey, Elocin, your host with World Ascension Conference. We thank you for joining us today. We are honored to have the wonderful guest, Mark Naea, with us. He is an expert on Andorra Crystals and so many other things. Andorra Crystals, their appearance, they used to only occur two places naturally in the world, and that's in Mount Shasta and in South Africa. But now they are making their appearances little by little in other places. So, Mark, thank you for joining us, and I just kind of want to let you have the floor right here.
Well, thank you, Lindsey. But there is one correction I'd like to make before we go forward.
Yes, do that.
The Andorra Crystals themselves are actually much more prevalent in history than you think of from what was originally released when they first found the Andorras at not Mount Shasta, but Lady Nellie's discovery in the Donner Pass area. You can trace their history back to both the first beginnings of civilizations in the Sumerians, all the way to the Knights Templars, who built cathedrals in France using Andorra materials for their stained glass windows.
Yes, and that's as I do have some Andorras. They always reminded me of templates, almost like an ancient Sumerian tablet of such. That's almost like the tablets of Thoth.
Mm-hmm.
And this was what I was shown during a meditation with them. And I know that they are very ancient, and I know that it almost makes you question if they're even native to this earth, Well,
basically, the monatomic nature of them makes them part of this dimension and part of others.
Yes, because they do have the monatomic elements in them. And if you can just, some of the viewers or listeners may not know exactly what monatomic elements are and what their purpose is. So if you could just explain that really quickly for those who don't know.
Okay, basically, monatomic elements are what we would call esoteric matter. That's the scientific term. And esoteric matter is matter that has just manifested within the physical realm. So they have their footprint in both the non-physical realm and the physical realm. So they're partly in this dimension and partly in other dimensions at the same time. And that makes them completely different from most other materials that people have studied and tested within this particular physical dimension.
Precisely. And all the monatomic elements, those are the elements needed for alchemy. Am I correct?
Monatomic elements were the what's the word I'm trying to find? They were the ultimate material that alchemists were trying to recreate.
Precisely, yes. Gotcha.
So when you talk of the Philosopher's Stones, which was the ultimate stone that alchemy sought, we're talking about pure monatomics. Right, exactly.
And is this I've heard of them being found, the ones that occur naturally, not the fake ones out there. I really want to address this issue because the real ones out there, they're found with a deposit of this white powder around them. And correct me if I'm wrong, aren't you the first one who scientifically discovered that this powder was the powder and within around these Andorras, you were the first one that discovered the existence of these of the monatomic elements within the Andorras.
Well, actually, I was the first one that was able to put the pieces all together, because there was a diverse amount of different people at that time back in 2002, 2003 that knew information, but none of them have talked to each other yet. And through my research of finding out exactly what made an Andorra tick, so to speak, and my research of connecting and talking to all of these diverse people, both mediums, psychics, healers, scientists, nutritionists, a whole gamut of different people that I wrote about on my blog. What came together was the whole history of monatomics themselves and how it all led to the white powder that Lady Nellie found and was guided to where the monatomics were on her land. And that was the key to understanding the esoteric nature and metaphysical nature of the Andorra Crystals themselves, which was the monatomic white powders that was there.
Precisely. That's amazing. And now, Lady Nellie, she first started working with these, and she kind of noticed that they would help with some of her clients, because she was a elderly Choctaw Native American, and she noticed that when she would use them in her healing practices, as far as a little bit of Reiki, she noticed people would have drastic improvements. Am I correct?
It was true, both the Andorra Crystals themselves and also the white powder that was infusing this certain herb called camirose, among other names, that she was helping to make tea that would help these people to heal themselves.
Right, okay.
But basically it came from the white powders of the monatomics.
Right, exactly, precisely. And I know that I've gotten, some from you before, and I have noticed, I can attest to this, I have seen traces of the white powder substance on them. Mm-hmm. So, I just want to assure people out there that, you do have to be careful when purchasing these things, because they, some people do pass slag glass off as these, and they look similar to slag glass, but that's why you have to be careful with who you're going through with these individual crystals, especially because they're making such a new appearance. And I will tell you, and I know Mark can attest to this, they're very picky about their owners. Can you share a little bit of your experience with the Andorras, as far as where they want to be, and how very picky they are, unlike any other stones out there? I know that some people will put like selenite and agate and citrine in a grid and be like, oh, this is where this one wants to be placed. Now, I will go so far as to even say, from my experience with the Andorras that have come from you, Mark, that they have been so specific, they didn't even want to be around another stone in the house. So.
Oh yeah, they can be very, very picky. One of the questions I get often from people who are new to Andorra Crystals is which one to pick, and how will I know which is the right one for me? And my standard answer from over a dozen years of working with them and working with people is, you really don't pick them, they pick you.
Yeah.
So you really can't make a mistake choosing which one is yours, because it's something that you've decided to do way before you've ever been born, and they've been waiting around for you to show up in this particular now.
Right. Exactly.
And exactly how they work, and they will work with you exactly that way.
Yes, and I can attest to that. I've actually had, I have quite a few, and I have given quite a few away, because I have known they had chosen another owner, and it was my duty to let them go. Now, I've had a few occasions actually where I have thought, okay, they wanted to go to this person. Well, then this person maybe wasn't ready for them, and I had a few instances where 2 people gave them back. And then I had 1 or 2 very interesting instances where I had given them to 2 different people. And literally the next day, the Andorras that I had given them showed up on my front porch.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't, and basically it was like it hopped out of their pocket before they left the house, or it either came back. They literally have the ability to physically manifest, to appear and to reappear more than any other stone I've ever had. I've lost I lost my Herkimer diamond for months because one specific Andorra didn't want it around.
Oh yeah, we've had the same experience when we first got Andorra Crystals back in 2002. One of them became my wife's personal piece, and one day one of our friends gave us another stone, and she put it in her purse with her Andorra, and the Andorra crystal literally told her, "Do not put that other stone in this pouch. This is my pouch. I do not want other stones with me."
Right.
And my wife said, "It's only to go home with. I'll take you out, take the other stone out immediately upon getting home." Well, she puts it in the pouch with the Andorra, and the Andorra is now silent because it already made its statement. She ties the pouch shut, puts it in her purse, zips the pocket shut, and then forgets about it. A week later, she remembered, so I better go get that other stone out of there. So she opens up her purse, unzips the pocket, takes out the pouch, unties the pouch, and the other stone is gone.
Right.
We could not find it. It literally was about, 8 years later we found it. We knew it was in a dark place, but that was the only information we knew. And where we found it was in a cabinet in a bathroom in back of boxes that had been there for 8 years. And there's no way it could have got there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's happened as soon as I started getting Andorras. That happened with a couple of my stones. I actually have one missing right now that one of my scarlet shifts kind of kicked out. And I have one regular stone. It's like a Preniosite or something like that. I forgot the exact name, but it was one of my favorite stones, and it's gone, like literally gone. I mean, it's here somewhere. It's hiding. They tell me, don't look for me. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing when it gets into that, because I know that all stones have their little personalities and etc. But the Andorras by far have shown to me some immense mystical powers, to say the least. Mm-hmm. To say the least. And they do work kind of in the background. I sent my co-founder, Leanne Dolly Indigo Star, I sent her 2 that I had gotten from you. I did not want to give them up. I really wanted to keep them. I wanted to keep them so bad, but I knew that they were supposed to be there in Devon, England with her. I knew they were supposed to be here, so I sent them. And I know that she can attest to this, that she immediately put them outside next to the gate on her land. And underneath that land's a lot of volcanic rock. So I think she and her partner might have been up in arms, for a lot of tension for about 4 months. And that's one thing with these Andorras. They work in the background like God. If you're wanting something in your life to change, these Andorras can literally turn your world upside down. But they will do it for the greater good. Kind of like, okay, you need to go through some things to really, open the next door or heal or go through this. And, for some people, a lot of people can't handle them because of that. But anyone looking for something to change your life and put you on a next level and do some real transmutation and healing, I highly recommend this for you if you're wanting to go to the next level.
Well, one of the things that Andorra does, like you mentioned, is they immediately start burning karma. Is the way.
There you go. Yeah, immediately.
They set that karma on fire, so you have to deal with it, not just in some lifetime in the future, but just get it done with now. And then you can move on and not be attached to it.
Precisely. Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that, because I can't tell you, since the Andorras entered my life, what was it, Mark? We've been in contact for about 2 years now.
At least 2 years.
At least, yeah, like 2 years. I mean, I can't tell you how. I mean, it was about right after I had my daughter. So yeah, and I can't tell you how life changing and how, like, I mean, of course, you know, you as a person have to do your own work. But I will tell you, these Andorras have a huge part to do with transformation, healing, and growth. Because here's the deal. If I'm going to give one of these things to someone because it's maybe wanting to work on that person, and that person gets scared, if it's to the point where the person says, here, take it back, it's too much. I can't handle it. You know, that means they're not wanting to deal with something, because something's arising in their life that they can't quite figure out how to transmute or deal with, that the Andorra is bringing up. And that's why I have proof myself from simply working with them.
Well, Andorras actually reflect the possibilities that you can be.
Exactly.
And some people are scared of, you know, those open questions or that open
and some people,
expansion.
Yeah, and some people are scared of expanding. And like I said, it's very important for, you know, to go ahead and clear that karma and expand, because, you know, new doors aren't going to be open unless you deal with what you've already, you know, with the old baggage and with the old, you know, you're not going to walk into the new without the old being let go of and dealt with and hashed out, you know.
The other thing, people are very comfortable in their restrictions. They know what the restriction is. They know as far as they can step forward. They don't want to go outside of that house. They don't want to change that jacket. They are comfortable here. They know it's a restriction, but it's a comfortable restriction. And everything else out there, if I take it away, then who am I? I know who I am in this house, but if I step outside, what if? And that's what scares them.
Exactly. That's very true. Very, very true. Luckily, I'm one for. I like a lot of changes. I'm like, yes, let's go. Let's heal myself and the world. So that's, you know, these Andorras have just played a huge role in the past year and a half, 2 years of my life. I know for sure. You
looked where you're at from when I first met you 2 years ago to what you're doing now, which is a huge jump in everything.
Yes, exactly. You're so right. You know, I remember speaking with you for the first time, and yeah, it's definitely it's a huge, definitely some major things have been moved around. And, you know, I'll be sitting there and I'm like, okay, there's an Andorra calling to me. All right, you know, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to find you. Which one are you? You know, you know, and I know there's another one out there right now calling to me. You know, just have to wait for it.
Their time frame of now is a lot different from the human time frame of now, usually, because they're sitting in something that millions of years they'll wait and not think anything of it for their connection to come into play. Whereas most people are just living within their lifetime and trying to make those connections, not knowing that these connections go on both timelessly backwards and timelessly forwards.
Exactly, you know, and that's where we get into the nonlinear time, which, you know, we're the only, you know, species probably in the cosmos that is on this this linear time frame, you know, and the non-linear is really where things are accomplished.
It's within the now moment of anything that everything is accomplished. It only happens in the...
Yeah, it only happens in the now, and to really, I think, in order to experience the now, it has to do with knowing that everything right now is happening in this moment. History, you know, history, future, past, present, whatever yet to come is happening in this now moment, and that's when you get into the non-linear time, which I do believe the Andorras dwell within and work within.
As I once told a good friend of mine who's a psychic, I asked her how big her now is, and she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, how big is your now? Is it 1 day, a year, 10 years, a lifetime, multidimensional? How big is your now?" And that's how much access you have to all of the information around you. The bigger your now is, the more information that you will be able to access, because you're not disconnected from it from a restriction of ideas. And that completely blew her open, because now she understands that her psychic ability is not so much a psychic ability as an inherent part of being the now.
Right, precisely.
And Andorra Crystals, just to bring them back into the picture, are great facilitators, because they are stones that are sitting there in the now. And you cannot help but fall into that again, or I should say fall out of the idea that you're separate while they're sitting there in front of you.
Precisely. Yes, definitely. I totally agree. And yeah, just any experiences, I mean, I know I've shared some of mine, like, and I know that you speak on, Mark, you speak on so many things. You're a highly intelligent person, and I just want to open it up for you, just to kind of have the floor and just speak about, anything that you feel guided to, right, at this moment, to share some knowledge, drop some amazing knowledge that you have within to the viewers and listeners, because it's the truth, Mark. You really are. You've got some great things to say.
Well, it's not me saying them. I've really stopped doing anything or knowing anything in the aspect of not Mark, or which is the nickname of all my friends gave me. I don't do any of this. I don't say any of this. It is just Source manifesting, or Source is already there manifesting. I don't need to drive the bus anymore. I don't need to drive anything anymore. Source is driving, and Source has always been driving. And from that, you completely become free of all of the restrictions, free of all of the ideas, free of any ideas. The only thing you have left is possibilities. And the possibilities become endless for you, because no longer are you defined by your life or your dimension or your circumstances. You become undefinable, and you can choose your life, your circumstances, and outcomes within the now moment, because none of it is written yet. And it's completely liquid to who you are. And that's the liquid, I should say, you swim in and play in.
Nice, yeah. Awesome, wow.
So you're in an ocean of possibilities and doing whatever you feel like doing once you become the idea of not a person, not this restriction, not that restriction. You are the ocean, and in that ocean is only possibilities, and that's what your true nature or your true being is, which is possibilities.
Precisely. Yeah, every time I just love listening to everything you have to say. Every time I speak to you, Source, which I know, it's something that you have taught me. Every time we're having a conversation with someone, we're ultimately having a conversation with Source, ourselves, because we are Source operating. So it's very important for us to just, let Source drive and not even drive our cars anymore, you know?
Well, actually, Source is driving. Who you think you are is in the back seat making comments about what already happened.
Right.
That's what makes it so funny. When you become when you just drop everything, the idea of all of these of who you think you really are, all those things just fall away from you like a leaf falling off of a tree. It's not something you let go. It's not something you accomplish. It's something that's already there. And when that reminder kicks in, and Source reminds you all the time of who you truly are and the freedom that you have, it's constantly reminding you. You cannot get away from it because that's who you are. You begin to understand how the perfection of everything happening, and you got to remember, the odds of anything being here are so small, it's ridiculous, and yet all of this is here. The odds of any one person being here are so small, and yet it's still here. And the only reason it's still here is because we're not driving it. If we were, we would have blew up the earth already, a long time ago.
True. This is very true.
We're not good. Who you think you are cannot drive a car very well.
Exactly.
Because who you think you are is reacting to stimulus that has already happened.
Yes.
But who you are in the now moment is everything that's happening. And in that now moment is your freedom to choose.
Yes.
And I can give examples from friends of mine that this has happened to my very self. At one point, my wife and I and the children were just driving down a country road, about 20 miles an hour, looking at, the horses and the cows and everything out there. And up ahead, we were coming to a home. And on this driveway was an elderly man in a golf cart, and he looks like he was going down his small hill to get his mail. When we came within about 20 feet of his driveway, all of a sudden, it looks like instead of pressing on his brakes, he stepped on his accelerator, and he accelerated at full speed down his driveway right at us. That's when I went 360. I should say the now moment went 360. I am no longer just sitting in the car. I am everything around. And I can see everything in a 360-degree view, and time is moving so slow, it's just unbelievably ridiculous. I had years to think things over. And as I'm watching all of this go on, my wife is looking out her window and she can see the headlights of this golf cart 1 foot from her door. And she knows that it's not going to hit her because of the way time is going. It's going to hit the back door where my son is sitting. And as I'm watching all of this, I finally go, not today. And all of a sudden, we're no longer there. We're 10 feet in front. And the golf cart goes right through where we were in that particular second and spins out. And he comes to a stop looking completely confused. And my wife turns to me and goes, "What just happened?" And I said, "God said no, not today."
Right.
And that's a choice that people have when you're in the now moment. As I tell people, who you think you are cannot change anything. Who you are as Source is everything and can write anything it wants within its life frame.
Definitely. My sister had an experience similar to that. Now, she was driving late at night and she had her son in the car with her, and all of a sudden she looked up and she saw this deer, and the deer was right literally by the time she was going like 70 or like 50 to 60 miles an hour, and she looks up and there's this deer, male buck with these antlers, and he is right in front of her car. And she said, "I knew I was going to hit him. I knew he was coming through the windshield and I was going to die." She was like, I saw everything flash before my eyes. Mm-hmm. And she said all of a sudden she closed her eyes and she just said, "Oh God, oh God, oh God," because this deer was like a foot in front of her going at like full speed. And she closes her eyes and opens her eyes, and the deer's gone and she's still driving.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, she looks back at the traffic, and like there was literally no time. And I know deer are like great jumpers, but there would have been no time for that deer to jump over the car, only being a foot in front of her.
Yeah.
So and all the traffic behind her was kind of at a standstill. So, yeah.
Yep, it happens.
Sometimes, it's just, I think what you're saying, it's really nice for humanity to really sit there and reflect on that we are source operating. Sometimes we really need to realize it's not us.
We're not driving completely. We never were. In fact, just recently, within the past 6 months or so, as I was perusing the internet, I came across a video of a person that was base jumping a 2,000-foot cliff next to a landing, next to a lake. And the story itself is such that it gives you a great reflection of how not real the physics of this reality is. The base jumper jumped, and in my theory, so to speak, I think of these things as they must be really bored with their lives to look to base jumping to jump off a cliff for excitement.
Right.
Because it wouldn't occur to me that would be fun, jumping off of a cliff, but for them it is. So anyway, he must have been extra bored at this point, so his self, who he really is, decided to take this to the maximum level there can be. Not only did he jump off the cliff, but his chute did not open. And he's dropping 2,000 feet down. He has a GoPro camera on it, so the whole thing's recorded on the way down. So he's going to land not in water, not on nice soft grass, but a parking lot. But who he is saying, let's make this to another level completely. Let's make this a cement parking lot with a building under construction. Yeah, that makes it a better. And he's still falling and starts going, we could make this even better. Let's put some rebars in there sticking straight up and he'll land among them. Yeah, that's it. But wait, the source has a huge sense of humor. We can make this jump even more exciting, the most exciting jump ever for this person. Not only will he land on concrete among rebars, he will land so close to one of the rebars that it's going to graze his cheek and rip his helmet off his head so that his head can make full contact with the cement. Boom, he jumps, falls. 4 seconds later, he's on the ground, out cold. His friends witness the whole thing. They call the ambulance, they get him there. He's out cold, they strap him into a gurney so he cannot move at all. He wakes up in the gurney and they're loading him into the ambulance, and he looks up and he sees friends filming him. The only thing he can move is his wrist, and he waves to them by as they take him down to the hospital. 2 hours later, they release him. He has no concussion. He has no broken bones, no internal injuries, no anything to show for the jump other than a scratch on his cheek where the rebar ripped his helmet off of his head.
And that's amazing.
And that shows you how immaterial the ideas of the laws of physics, or in physics themselves, apply to who we truly are as source.
Right, precisely. That's quite an amazing story. I've not seen that yet, or not heard of that yet. So
it's out there on YouTube of all places.
Wow. Yeah.
And you can find any number of these, what they would call miracles. And that's by definition a miracle. When you have something that is physically impossible happen, that's when source has stepped in.
Right. Exactly.
And not only is it possible, it has to happen because, it's source.
Right, exactly. So is there, let's just say, can you give any kind of like one of the most personal experiences with the Andorras that you have had yourself?
God, where do I even begin?
Right. I was gonna say, where would you start? But one of
the Andorras completely surprised me every single day. I've had literally thousands of pounds go through my hands throughout the past more than a dozen years now. That no two are exactly the same. There's always something unique on every single one of them. They could come in looking like a plain piece of earth-covered glass, and yet when the hammer comes down to start to break them apart so that they're in a better size for people to purchase, something happens. There's a flash of light. Just something happens, and they're no longer the same piece. They're no longer the same color. They're no longer the same brightness. It's something happens when they become ready to go out into the world. A light switch goes on, and they become just something completely different, which I just cannot explain in any kind of scientific matter. It just it doesn't
I can
go
actually
there at all.
Yeah, I can actually agree with that. I had a really large eternal spring Andorra, and I was like, okay, it's ready to be broken into separate little pieces, of which I've all kept, and it literally transformed into an entire new entity. Everything had its own energy. Every little piece took on a different energy. It was amazing, and it was so strange, just the feel and everything of it. It completely took on a whole, each piece became its own new entity, as opposed to if I would break a piece of selenite or fluorite, or something, along those lines, it could still be, in a sense, put back together, or part of the same piece. But with the Andorras, when they separate into different pieces, they no longer even want to go back. They
become like a new family.
Exactly.
With all individuals, which is really, really. And I've had where I've broken a piece that was one color, and now all of the pieces are no longer the same color. There's like several colors among this one piece that used to be one color. And now I have, this was a pink stone, now it's clear, and it was a blue, and now it's green. And this other pink now is turned red and orange. What is going on here? And we just have to laugh because that's them. That's their play. Right. That's their choice.
I have an example of one scarlet shift that I do have. And for the first time, I took a picture of it. Not the first time I had taken a picture of it. A few months ago when I did decide to take a picture, maybe it was 6 months, it actually appeared purple in the photo, and I said, "Holy crap! Really? Are you doing this to me right now? Like, seriously? You are red. You are really red right now."
But in another dimension that the photograph caught, it's purple.
Exactly. And it's I kept snapping them, and it didn't have anything to do with the lighting. The flash wasn't on, any of that. I'm just like, what? Like, this makes no sense. I'm like, I'm holding you this color, and then it's coming out like a burgundy, or like, literally it would be like a purple, and then all of a sudden it would be a fire red, or like an orange, and I'm like, what? It's literally shifting. The scarlet shift is shifting in front of my eyes.
Yep. I've had many people ask, how do you get those pictures? I go, they let me take their pictures. And if they don't want me to take their pictures, the camera will not capture a in-focus picture. The background will change colors. Everything will be just completely out there.
Exactly.
And I was like, okay, tomorrow I'll take pictures. Today's no good. They don't want their picture taken today.
Yes, probably. And I know this sounds really strange maybe to the viewers, but I think this is one reason why no one is on video, because they want the focus to be specifically on them instead of our. That's the message that I did get.
You picked it up, huh?
I did pick it up. They had a little bit bit of technical difficulties, and I was wondering, well, maybe I should just turn my camera off. And finally I said, okay, I'm going to turn my camera off. And yeah. So yeah, that's I feel like that's what they wanted. They want certain things a certain way, and I think it's very important to listen.
Or you don't have a choice.
Exactly, because literally
they'll shut your computer down if you don't do it their way.
It actually did. My computer was shut down 2 times. I was knocked off the internet.
Yep.
Never happens. I mean, just to have a conference about some crystals. So they probably had a hand in that one.
Oh, definitely. I knew that I wasn't supposed to have any video of me within this conference whatsoever. I already knew that. I was wondering if it was going to pop up on your side of it. And as soon as I saw you having trouble, I was like going, I wonder how long it's going to take before Lindsey gets a hint.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks to Tom. Thanks to Thomas for calling it out and saying, maybe we need to do this. This is me. It's like, it's going to look really weird. I'm just sitting here on video, and Mark isn't. And then I'm like, you know what? I think we just need to. The Andaras just want the focus to be on them. No videos this time.
Oh yeah, and they even told me I couldn't tell you. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this conversation.
And that doesn't surprise me at all because they are like that. They are such, like I said, I've never in my entire life experienced a crystal like this. I know I have a powerful Herkimer diamond and this and that, but I've never in my life experienced something with such a personality and such a, they're like children almost, or like little adults trapped in, or adults. It's just like they're wise spirits.
They're so far above whatever you can think of that they become almost childlike.
Yes, exactly.
And yet their depth is immeasurable.
I couldn't agree more, Mark. And I'm not saying this because I know you. I'm not saying this because Andaras, they're pretty, they're this. No, I'm saying this because I have had my life change, shift, be turned upside down. Some really strange things happen, including this conference with the no video being, going on. Things in my life, unexplainable, defying the laws of physics, things popping in and out of existence, other crystals popping in and out of existence. And like I said, I'm not saying this just to be saying it. I'm saying it because I have had the literal, physical, mental, emotional, and etheric experience with these Andaras. I even had dreams about them. I've had dreams where I've traveled, or they've traveled to me. This huge cosmic ice just appears, or this, and etc. And I even had the first time I got an order from you guys, as I do channelings and stuff, because we're all channelers, you guys always send a gift, an Andorra gift, a complimentary Andorra gift, and if you're not satisfied with your order, you can return it. So I think I ordered an Inanna's Wisdom and a Scion Angels, and immediately the Inanna's Wisdom disappeared. immediately, like nowhere to be found. I still haven't found it to this day. And as a gift, you sent the Rose de France, the pink, one of the pink Andaras.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a small piece, and so I put it on my forehead, and I was like, where are you from? And I just asked this question. I said, where are you from? And I got the message, and it was this heavenly angelic being of some sort, and she said, Alberios. And I said, what? Okay. So I go to do some research, and I had never even heard of the Albireo constellation, but there's an Albireo A and B, and it's in the Cygnus, the Swan constellation. Okay? And she's telling me that this is where she is from, or where this maybe specific Andorra information, whatever, is from. And I'm like, holy crap. I mean, I had never, either way, the fact that Andorra was able to channel some sort, or be a conduit of some sort of information, and then it be confirmed. And because I asked the lady, I said, you need to spell this for me. And she spelled it out. So I immediately wrote down the letters and looked it up, and it was a constellation. And I was very taken aback. So I was like, well, there's something very serious to these things. I will be ordering more. That was, my first experience. Yanana's wisdom popped out, and left with the Cyan Angels and the Rose de France. So, I'm like, I was just blown away.
You want to take this to another level?
Yeah.
When you ask a question, you're really not asking about the crystal itself. You're asking about yourself.
Exactly.
So when she told you who she was or where she was from, she was telling you where you were from.
Precisely. Yeah. Or yeah, exactly. Because I was like, where are you? I knew the Andorra wasn't from the Cygnus constellation. I knew that. Maybe it was one of my guides that I'm thinking, because it was just an angelic.
It was another aspect of who you are as source.
Precisely.
And the Andorra Crystal did come from there also, because that's where you came from.
Right, exactly.
So even though it's manifested within the reality of Earth, its ability to be multidimensional doesn't mean it's not from there also.
Precisely. Exactly. And it's like I like to use the word, I've switched over now from multidimensional to infinite dimensional. Almost. Everything is so infinite. I'm like, no more multi. I'm like, let's just infinite.
It is. Like I said, how big's your now?
It's my now is infinite. So
and even infinite can't define it.
Precisely. Yeah, exactly.
There's I cannot find a single word in all of my searching to define what you truly are. Not one word.
Yes.
And there's no way to define it. It's something that once you have, and it's not something you reach, is once you have completely, and it's not something you do either, so it's so hard to define in words. And yet when it happens, which doesn't mean it really happened at all, because there's no time frame, it just is. And yet when that just is, everything is so different. You become so much more than you ever thought you were. And it's not something you become, it's something that's already there, and you keep going, oh. Pretty much as a one word I can think of that everyone has said, it goes, oh, okay, cool.
Right. Yes, exactly. Now, before we go, I want to ask you a little bit about, I know that you were talking earlier, just to give us a little bit of history on the Andorras, through, as far back as the Sumerians, and then their return, their sort of return now, and what you feel that they are doing here on Earth, and especially in assisting humanity at this point.
Well, it's not so much as a return as they are more public now.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, they've been around for so long, so many different societies, people, whatever you want to call them, have been using them throughout the thousands and thousands of years that we've inhabited it. In fact, it's not even thousand. We can go back millions of years if you want to the very first inhabitants of Earth that have been written about. That, monoatomics and esoteric matter has always been in use throughout time. It's just that right now, within the time frame that we're in, they have become much more visible to the public itself in a way that makes them able to help so much more people to uncover their possibilities. That there's more to everything than just, getting up, having a job, going to work, having a family. There's a whole new possibility of a much more expanded awareness and world that they can actually live in.
Right, I totally agree with that. I definitely do. And what would what's your advice to the viewers? I think I'm about to take the words right out of your mouth. Advice to listeners when working with Andorras, and just when working with Andorras, and I was just gonna, it just popped in my head, and the first word that came in my head was just listen.
Yes, exactly. You really don't work with them.
It's
more of a dance that you have that is completely liberating.
Right. It's more, you don't work with the Andorras. I've seen that. I've ordered one, and it's just told me, it's not time, or not that it's not time, or just come back later, or it's working on me and in the background more so. Like, it doesn't need to be close to me. You see what I mean? Now some kind of want to be closer to me at some points. And sometimes I'll go through, a week or so where, one will just be like, okay, we're going to hang out this week or something along those lines, like switch it up, They totally work in the background like that. They like I said, like we were speaking of earlier, they're almost like little children in this little wise little children like in these
they have a childlike energy of possibilities that are open to themselves, and yet there's a depth of wisdom.
There you go. The wisdom is incredible.
That is always vibrating, that you can feel that wisdom is there, and it'll be a child that tells you the meaning of the universe. That's what it's like.
Yeah, I totally agree. For example, one of my favorites is Starlight Amethyst that I ordered. Now, I have renamed it for myself because I've named it like Sophia's Wisdom, because once I received it, I looked at it and I said, oh my gosh, it has the face, and I'll send you a picture of it later, Mark. It has the face of an owl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm not talking about like crystal scrying. I'm not talking about looking into the crystal. I'm talking about if I were blind and I had to feel something, like feeling a face of something. If I felt the face of the stone, it's an owl.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just has this total Sophia energy with this wisdom just emanates through it. The Starlight Amethyst and Andorra, and it's just it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised with anything that happens with these stones anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's they're constantly evolving, or just growing and presenting themselves to us and reflecting ourselves back, unto ourselves on a daily basis. I know that that's how I feel with them, that I'm constantly, we're constantly in a learning state anyway, but these almost accelerate that and just like energetically amplify it.
Yeah, I kind of consider it more as a revelation state, as more of the layers of onions that you think you are gets peeled away, showing that you're not that either. You're something more. And as more of that, veils get lifted, more is revealed of what you truly can do and what truly is.
Definitely. I totally agree. Well, Mark, I could listen to you all day long. I really could. Or Source, should I say? I could listen to not Mark all day long.
You can listen to yourself all day long. That's exactly who you're talking to. Remember, I don't do anything. You're talking to yourself without restrictions, without anything but possibilities.
Precisely. I couldn't agree more. And yes, that's why. Yeah. And it's just nice to have, to interact with someone who recognizes that and to totally feel everything you back. And I can't wait for our viewers to hear this as Source has implemented so much wisdom and so much insight and into this and into a few subjects that we were able to touch on here, and just really wonderful space that we've held for one another. And Mark, I thank you so much for coming on and holding this space and being here with us and sharing everything that you could with us and the allotted time space. And if you want to just tell the viewers, the listeners, where they can find any of the Andorras and etc., and any info as far as to contact you.
Well, you can go onto my website, lifestreasureskauai.com. I'm sure Lindsey will put that up there where she's at and needs to be. Yeah. And we're also on eBay of Kauai Andorra Crystals in our store there. There's actually more crystals there than on my website right now because I'm working on so many different projects. One of them is launching the new website that actually just represents the not Mark, what's the word I can use, phenomena?
Right.
That's the only way I can describe it. But so many friends of mine said, Mark, you have to start doing this. And yeah, I know, but I'm not driving this, remember? It'll come up exactly when it's supposed to come up, and that's what's coming up. And I'm in the process of working that all together. So we will have much more to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I hope to have you on again soon, or whenever Source is ready to come back on and drop some awesome knowledge.
Sounds good.
I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited, and yes, we will include the links and everything to have you, so people can find everything. Also, I want to say on the Life Treasures Kauai, I will say that that there is a link to the eBay store on that on his website, so you guys can find that. All right, Mark. Many blessings, and thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Mark. You have a blessed day.
You too, Lindsey, and everybody else out there.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. This is your host, Lindsey Elocin Hooper with World Ascension Conference, signing off.